Alright, well, I'm John Manley, and this is my wife, Nicole Manley, who
That sounds
usually
funny.
doesn't have too much of a voice on Diabetic Dharma, but I'm trying to turn everything over to her, so we're experimenting with video as a way to communicate instead of written blog posts, and probably more so something that Nicole might be taking over.
Mm-hmm.
Since, as you can see, last time I wrote a post on Diabetic Dharma last year. I let people know what Nicole had planned for our trip to Mexico. So maybe you might want to tell them. Not everyone might know, because I don't know, maybe no one really reads what I wrote anyways.
Yeah, maybe not.
So
I had decided to go off dialysis and do a transition, which means dying. And unfortunately, I probably packed too much in my wishes of going to Mexico and doing a little too much, you know, like having a family vacation
and then dying.
and then dying.
And I could tell you, dying kind of takes the fun out of the family vacation. It's like, yeah, we'll just have a family vacation and then I'll die.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
Yes. Anyway.
Because the original plan had been that we were saving money up, raising money up for dental surgery, which cost about $50,000, and in 2 years we raised $10,000, which I think I could have earned it quicker without trying to fundraise it. So at that rate, it probably would have took another 8 years before we could have afforded the surgery, by which time the money probably would have deflated and the cost of the surgery gone up. Sorry, the money would have inflated. So it might have took 12 years. I don't know, 8, 10, 12 years. So Nicole decided to use the 10,000 instead for kind of do-it-yourself hospice in Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Which had a different outcome than I was expecting. And one of the things that I did learn about from all this was you can't control your death. And my medical team had told me going off dialysis I would be gone within between 4 days and 14 days. And it actually, for the first 12 days after I went off dialysis, I fasted. And I was still, like, you know, walking around. Nothing was really happening too much. So we thought we would, you know, try putting a lot of potassium in my diet. So I went off the fast, started eating a lot of potassium. And
maybe for people who don't know what that means, what's potassium? Like, what kind of foods?
Oh, yams.
Mainly yams.
Mainly, that has the
For the
highest
first 2 days.
potassium. Yeah.
So she got sick of yams.
Yeah.
Literally sick.
Yeah. And then, you know, it was like, I was just dying, just like in little small increments. And it was more painful. And by the time 3 weeks rolled around, it was like I was still there. And we had to make some decisions because we had plane tickets coming back to Canada, and we had to move out of the hotel, and so there was a lot of things going on. And of course John was there alone, and he was my only caretaker, and it was very, plus, you know, taking care of our son, and it was a lot on him. And so it just, we had to figure out what was going to be right. And it just, at that point, it seemed to me that the universe was telling me, no, you're not supposed to go. You have to come back to Canada, and there's things you still have to do. And a part of that is, my spiritual practice and learning to stop controlling so much and letting go. From learning early in life about control with diabetes, when I was 10 years old, it's been a big theme in my life. So I've had, I have to start learning to kind of let go and less control, which is interesting because before we went to Mexico, we were watching a lot of videos, listening to podcasts on near-death experiences. And not that I had a near-death experience as what people would say, but to me I had what I'm terming a death experience or a transition experience, because I came back to Canada in feeling different and being in a real different space around life, and which has been good. So, and I think it was just about letting go and, not that I'm saying I've let go of everything, trust me. Still working on things, but, I'm getting there and I'm working on it, so, which has been good. So, I'm saying a lot of those.
It's kind of funny what you said about diabetes and control, because I think that's a very oxymoronic term.
Mm-hmm.
At best, I'm not even sure control's the right word. I mean, some people call having a nice A1C control, but I think most diabetics know that's still involved. A bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Pancreas is awfully good at controlling diabetes, so I found that's worked well for myself. Insulin injected.
But I think what I'm talking about in control issues is, you get put in the hospital and they teach you all these things, and you have to be disciplined in doing that. So you're having to control things and control what you eat. So when I first was diagnosed with diabetes, it was, with the blood, not the blood sugar, but how high your blood sugar was in your urine, because we tested our urine, and and then looking at, you take your, we had colored pencils, and we had to color what each color our urine was when we did it 4 times a day, and then take it to the doctor and show him. And then a lot of times I would lie, because I would put a lot of blue in, which meant my my urine was, the blood in the urine, or the sugar in the urine was, good, so that became a kind of control thing.
Deceptive form of control.
Yeah, well, that's because I didn't want to get in trouble. Anyways.
Well, and then, back to Mexico. I mean, what was it? You did 20 days without dialysis?
21.
Yeah, so at 21 days, it came down to the point where we realized that it wasn't possible to continue this in the rather rustic hotel we were at. Principally because of the amount of diarrhea that
Yes.
going off dialysis produces, but other issues. And then, so we didn't have a place, we'd have to find a new place to live, and it seemed obvious that Nicole needed hospice care if she was going to continue, possibly.
Yeah.
Some type of medication to deal with the discomfort, pain, and so forth. So that would have been significantly more expensive to continue doing in Mexico. Would have been about, I think it was $200 Canadian a day, whilst it's covered by insurance in Canada. Not sure if that will happen or not, but definitely didn't make sense for it to happen in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
On top of it, it wouldn't have been real hospice care. It was actually going to be in
Like palliative care.
palliative care in a hospital with, I think they had 6 rooms. Very nice hospitals where she was having dialysis. But instead, what was it, Monday morning? You can't do this in Canada, but on Monday morning we called up the dialysis clinic at 10:30 a.m. and said, can we come in for a dialysis treatment? They're like, yeah, sure, as long as you're here before 12:30. So we wheeled Nicole, 12 o'clock we got there, wheeled Nicole in on the wheelchair, and she looked in pretty bad shape and questioned us for about a half hour to make sure that I wasn't trying to kill her or something. No, she was trying to kill herself.
Yeah.
She's trying to die and it didn't work out. And then, why would you do that? Anyways, and she went back on dialysis, did 4 dialysis treatments, one every day through
4
Thursday.
4 days, yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They had to do short treatments because her electrolytes were a little high. In theory, we didn't check. And then we flew home on Friday.
Yeah, they did like a 2-hour session to make sure I didn't have seizures because I hadn't had dialysis for so long. So.
We have a lot of videos from Mexico that we can upload to the website if people are interested in seeing both Nicole as she went through days and days without dialysis when she has no substantial amount of kidney function. But the one interesting result we saw was, mostly we assumed through the fasting, 12 days of fasting, was that how much urine were you putting out before you went to Mexico?
None.
So she was almost peeing nothing, maybe a drop every once in a while?
Maybe.
And then when you got home from Mexico?
Oh. I was having some urine output. Yeah. But and then I started another 10-day fast. And
she's currently right now on another 10-day fast. I mean, we've been back from Mexico now for
3 weeks.
3 weeks, and 10 days ago she decided to do another 10-day water fast, since, as we've always seen with long fasts, her urine output increases, which I'm no genius and I'm not a nephrologist or a biochemist, but I think that suggests that the kidneys are working better. And you go from no urine to some urine, and then from some urine to more urine. I mean, part of could possibly be that the blood becomes so thin during the fasting that it can pass through the kidneys easier, but that still wouldn't explain why after fasting the urine output remains, because the blood would thicken up when returning to food, but the urine output still.
Yeah, though I have to say, through the 10 days, there was one day I didn't really have anything, and today I haven't had anything. Yeah. So
it's not a straight linear line of
improvement.
But we saw that when Nicole did a 38-day water fast. It was actually for the first 7 days, I think her urine output went down, and then after the next 7 days it went up, and then it really, for the 3rd week, it broke records, and by the end of the fast she was putting out half a cup of urine a day, which was very surprising. Well, actually it was very disappointing for us, because we thought she'd be cured after 40 days of fasting and have, pouring out, a liter or so of urine a day, not a half cup. But now that our expectations have been humbled,
yes,
we're like really happy if there's like a tablespoon improvement.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gonna be. So yeah, we came back to Canada. Nicole continued dialysis treatment 3 times a week at the local clinic after one special examination and treatment in the big city. And her feet, which had a kind of an infection damage to them, we've gone back to the amniotic fluid treatment that we've always been doing on them, and her feet are in rapidly increasing state of health. They're healing up like we usually always find with amniotic treatment. It is simply probably is a solution to diabetic foot care. Even the nurses who were examining, they were very surprised how fast it's been regenerating. We haven't exactly described the secret formula, but
No, I just call them Ayurvedic socks at this point.
Yeah. And they don't seem to want to know anything more.
Yeah.
So, but if anyone is interested, you can just look on the website. There's some articles about it, or maybe we'll do a special video on amniotic socks one day.
Mhm.
Can actually show
I think you filmed it.
Might have, but I have no idea where it's filmed.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we did though. I don't think we were.
Or maybe we just talked about it.
Oh, we certainly talked about it.
Yeah.
So, your current plan right now, as much as there is a plan, she's undecided. What's your feelings about end of life?
What are my
Conscious.
feelings about it? Well, right now, I just feel that I have some work to do, emotionally and spiritually, and I need to do that work before I make any real big decisions. We have had the nurse coordinator come in for hospice and palliative care. And I've signed up for that. So, but once you do that, you're in it for life. So, whatever happens in the future. But right now, partially, I want to continue trying to do a 10-day fast every month, and just see where that goes, and work, like I said, on my spiritual and emotional healing, and I'd rather not die with some of this still needing to be worked on. And
Some of this. What's this?
my control issues, my just trying to let go of things and let things just flow through me, not get caught up in my thoughts all the time. The anxiety about, whirling around in my head. And partially, my food issues. I've always had food issues that I struggle with, so I want to, have some of that, healed before I die or leave this body, however you like to look at it.
Before we went to Mexico, Nicole was kind of dealing with a lot of anger and depression. It wasn't a nice state to be leaving in. But, I mean, we do know that, well, on top of the fasting, she's doing sauna therapy still.
Yes.
And following the vegan diet. So, I mean, all of those seem to help the kidney function, and mice studies, it's actually cured type 1 diabetes. And also
They put the mice on a vegan diet?
well, I was more referring to the fasting.
Oh,
I think
okay.
mice are already on a vegan diet. I don't know what mice eat. I know some of them eat cheese, but I don't think that's something they naturally eat. I think they're more into seeds.
Mm.
I don't know. You think of mice out in the field, I don't think they're eating cheese.
Cheese?
Much,
Yeah, I don't
Probably
think
not.
so.
I mean, I think if cheese is there, they'll eat it, but it's probably not what they
Yeah.
thrived on for thousands of years.
No, I
Mice
doubt it.
certainly seem to thrive. But anyways, and I mean, right now she's on 10 days of just, well, she's not just drinking water. We've tried that. We've tried many different things because the problem is if she just drinks water and then goes to dialysis, the dialysis machine assumes she's already had 6 to 12 meals in between sessions, so it dialyzes her by sucking out a lot of electrolytes, just assuming that they were there. It doesn't actually check to see if they were there, it just assumes they were there. And we found that her fasting on water whilst going to dialysis was a very dangerous combination, because every treatment would push her electrolytes lower and lower, to the point in particularly that her potassium levels became dangerously low. So to compensate for that, she is having glass of vegetable broth every
1
night.
cup,
Yeah,
or
it's
sort of.
no real substantial amount of calories involved. It just contains a very small potato, a very large carrot, sometimes a very tiny beet, which I'm quite fond of,
Mm-hmm.
and then the rest is cabbage, which is not exactly a calorie punch. So it doesn't seem to knock her out. It hardly puts her blood sugar up anything. And oh, that's something else to talk about is your blood sugar. Like,
Oh,
how much
yeah.
insulin are you taking a day? Like half a unit?
Maybe. I went 36 hours without insulin the other day. I think that it was like Thursday night to, from Thursday night onwards. I'm not taking any long acting. Right now we're just doing corrections. I say we, I mean me. So I check it pretty constantly. Though today I'm running higher, whether that's because I'm in today I found it really hard with detoxing, so it might just be my cortisol levels rising. I don't know. But I'm up to, one was 11.1 at this morning, and this afternoon it went up to 12.6.
So that's in millimoles per
Yeah.
Is it deciliters and liters? I think it's liters. Millimoles per liter.
Yeah, per liter.
Which in, what's it, milligrams per deciliter is going around 200, 250.
Yeah.
But most of the time she's been bordering on hypoglycemia.
Yes.
So, and that's with taking only half a unit a day.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's been pretty much a nice sweet spot around 4 to 5 millimoles,
Yeah.
which is
Mm-hmm.
around 80 to 100. I don't know why people think it's so hard to fast when you have type 1 diabetes. There's so many people who say this, like you're just going to be in a hypoglycemic coma, or you're going to be in ketoacidosis. I personally, I don't understand how anyone's going to end up in ketoacidosis fasting. That does not make sense to me at all, because you're not eating anything,
Yeah.
and you hardly need any insulin on the worst day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, you'd probably end up in ketoacidosis if you just didn't take any insulin for a whole 10-day fast, and even then I'd be surprised, pretty frankly. But I realize everyone's different, but personally, I don't understand why type 1 diabetics are afraid of fasting, unless they're just taking so much long-acting insulin that they're just going to go low once they stop eating. But that's a bad idea, no matter whether you're fasting or not. Don't take that much insulin.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to have just the right amount of long-acting insulin that if you don't eat, you must skip a meal, you don't crash.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times people are using their long-acting insulin to cover their
meals.
meal-ins.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, that's one thing we did learn very well from Dr.
Bernstein.
We don't agree with everything he says, but he certainly knows how to use insulin properly. And,
Yes.
it makes fasting possible. I mean, but still, we're not sure how much of this is insulin sensitivity going away, or how much of it is possible beta cell activity. But even then, the long-acting how much long-acting insulin did you used to take before the fast?
3 units in the morning and 3 at night.
Yeah, so
and I took Terceva.
And we know even a 1-day fast wouldn't knock that out, so she needed 6 units of insulin a day as a baseline, and now she needs half a unit a day. It's not even a day, it's like a half a unit every day and a half.
Yeah.
But
what I really wanted was a quarter, but unfortunately I couldn't get any needles or anything to get a quarter, so that's why we went to corrections instead. I'm not taking any Terceva at this time, long acting.
Yeah.
So
you just have to make sure that you check every 2-4 hours.
Yeah.
But it's much nicer, because otherwise you start dipping down, and you got to take juice, which is only going to interrupt with the fast, or take beet juice or glucotabs. Which I try not to think that's a big deal. I mean, fasting on water for 10 days, and 1 day you have to take 4 grams of sugar. I don't think it's going to ruin the fast. She's like, oh, I don't feel like I'm fasting because I just took a glucotab. Doesn't matter, it still works. Yeah, the glucose tab was probably a step back, but it's hardly like ruined the whole fast.
But it didn't matter because I found that with taking the sugar, I ended up having diarrhea with it. So
Yeah, that's the other reason we prefer just to use insulin corrections.
yeah,
Most of it goes right through her, and I don't know if your blood sugar goes up fast enough.
yeah,
But the other fact is like she's in such a state of ketosis now. Her blood sugar can be 2, which is like 36 milligrams per deciliter, and she doesn't
Yeah.
even. It's like if the glucometer didn't tell her, she wouldn't know.
yeah. Actually, 2.6
2.6.
millimoles per liter, and I couldn't tell. I was walking around, I felt fine, I wasn't slurring, so it was quite interesting doing it that way.
Yeah, she's actually she's been remarkably more pleasant since coming back to Mexico as it is. She hasn't been angry or seemingly depressed or anything, but when she fasts, it's even better, partly because I don't think she has enough umph to stress herself out, so
Yeah,
that
that's
helps.
part of it.
So at the moment, that's the situation. That continue with the saunas, continue with the vegan diet, continue with fasting once a month, and you kind of said that if things get better, well, that's great, and hopefully you can get out dialysis. If things stay the same, then you have to see how it goes. If things get worse, well, I guess the thing is, if things stay the same or they get worse, you're still considering hospice care.
Yeah.
We've toured one hospice center in our city, which was kind of too
Clinical. Medical.
medical. It's in the middle of a suburb. It's not too appealing. Kind of looks a little like the Star Trek Enterprise on the inside with fireplaces.
Yeah.
Gas fireplaces. I mean, it's not the worst place in the world. We've been to the worst place in the world to die already, so.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, there's probably other places that are worse, but that actually makes them more suitable for dying because you'd probably just die faster, but this place was not it. But we do know of 2 other hospice centers that are about 45-minute drive from here that are out in the country that in nice old homes and that type of thing, which look much more appealing.
Yes.
And possibly too, if you do go that route, you'd prefer to wait till the warm weather anyways.
Yeah.
So if you want to spend time
Just to
outside.
be warm. That's part of the reason I wanted Mexico, because it was not snowy and cold, because I'm freezing cold. I wear 2 sweaters and go into the sauna, if you can believe that right now. So I wanted to go somewhere where it was sunny and warm. And but even in Mexico, the time of year, during the day it was beautiful and warm and everything, but at night it did get cooler, and I still had to wear 2 sweaters plus 2 hot water bottles to go to bed. So
And there's no heat in Mexico, no artificial heat sources, no fireplaces, no space heaters. They just can't be bothered because there's only like probably 6 weeks of the year where it's actually cold.
yeah.
So even in the dialysis unit at the hospital, they're like wearing winter jackets. It's like the hospital didn't even have heat.
No.
It was
It's just strange to
with
me.
the patients and everything. That was odd.
Yeah.
And it's such an insulated building that it probably takes half the day for it to warm up. So in the morning it was pretty chilly.
Yeah.
But,
Sure.
but we have some videos of we have a video of the dialysis clinic there. And maybe another time we can. Well, I think that's the thing, is anyone's actually watched this videos this far, and they want us to do more videos, and they have specific questions, especially for Nicole. You can email them to us at email them to Nicole at Nicole@diabeticdharma.com, and if there's enough interest, we'll continue doing these videos, both to answer more questions about what happened in Mexico, what we've been doing up to this point, and to keep you updated on how things progress in the future. And of course, if you do want to get notified every time a video comes out in the future, you'd have to go to diabeticdharma.com and click on the subscribe button, enter in your email address, and we'll let you know when the next video comes. You can do all that other weird stuff people like doing, telling you to do on YouTube, like, I don't know, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification button, like button, leave a comment, but really we don't care. Only thing you care, you want to make sure you get the videos, go to diabeticdharma.com, click on subscribe, and enter your email address, because we're not trying to make it more complicated than that. One way of communication will be email. Everybody has an email.
Yes.
So
I agree.
the email will let you know when the video goes up and give you a link. And so that's, I think, a simple way to do it. We're trying to minimize this unless Nicole becomes really famous and is on Oprah and a whole bunch of things like that. And then, even then, well, then she can hire a whole team to take care of it. But if we do continue with these videos, we're probably going to have someone else fill in for me. As far as handling that, I'm moving out of the Diabetic Dharma space. The original idea was actually just to close the whole website down, but we thought we would try this. Nicole's not up to writing long blog posts like me, and she has what she's doing, and it's really Diabetic Dharma means path in Sanskrit, and it's really her path, not mine.
No.
I think if she's going to do this, she got to be the one leading it. So, and talking in videos is more her thing, and I probably won't be in a lot of the future videos, so she'll get more time to talk.
I was thinking maybe a puppet.
Of me?
No.
Oh.
No, just a cute puppet.
You're going to talk with a puppet? How many people want to see a puppet?
I'm just joking. No. I think we'll have a live person.
We also have some interviews of Nicole at Dialysis the day before. Oh no, the day before we left. The day we did leave, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Because we thought that would be your last dialysis session, so
yeah,
you can see Nicole on dialysis being tortured. But that was one of the great things that happened in Mexico, was they had a different way of connecting her to the dialysis machine, which ended up being a lot less painful, and she brought that back with her. So.
Well, I didn't bring that back because that's what they do with other people. The only reason is because I've done it for 11 years, and that was their procedure in the hospital. But they when I went to, but it was causing so much pain in my arm. But when we went to Mexico, and they were just needling me in different places, it was more comfortable. So when I came back, I just told them, and they said fine. They had no problem with that. So, but I can't do it myself. Yeah, whereas before I was doing it myself. So.
So it was your fault.
Well, no. Okay. Well, it wasn't my fault. That's the way they taught me. And at the time, that was the way they thought was better for the fistula. Yeah. But now they've done more research, and they find it's better the other way. So that's what they've been doing with other people in the dialysis unit who get fistulas. So.
But Nicole was finding dialysis so painful that she'd have to come off early sometimes, or have the arm packed with ice?
No, I didn't come off early for the pain. The only thing I came off early for is when my blood pressure was dropping so low. I couldn't sustain it. That was the only reason.
But it seemed like you were dreading dialysis because of the pain.
The pain, the drop in blood pressure. And that was the other thing that set in Mexico, was my blood pressure went up so that I can be on dialysis the 3 hours and not just 2 hours, because before I went to Mexico, I had to go 5 times a week. And because I couldn't be in Stratford for my the 4th and 5th one, I had to go an hour away. And that was becoming a little too much, because it was about, sometimes, 5 to 6 hours away from home, and 4 hours just in town. So when you know, it was getting to be a little too much for me. And then because I wasn't able to walk a lot, because I was in so much pain with my feet, and, you know, just my calves too, all the injuries I had had, it was just becoming more and more challenging. So I wasn't getting a lot of exercise, and my blood pressure was dropping constantly after I would eat, and it just didn't seem I had, you know, much of a life, I guess. So, but the universe has other plans, and that's what I'm going with right now, because I'm not in control. So I think we should end that on that note. And thank you for watching it. And like John said, if you want to see more, let us know. Or let me know.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just go to diabeticdharma.com. The link should probably be below in the notes. And either click subscribe and or go to the contact page and send Nicole an email if you like. And if you got any questions about anything, you can ask them and we might answer them.
Okay.